The Lil Durk and King Von robbery court case from 2019 has been swept under the rug by Durk. The state is building up evidence against the Chicago rapper, and the trial is set to begin soon. Here is what happened. Now, the entire hip-hop world was stunned the day that Lil Durk surrendered himself into the Fulton County Jail on May 30th, 2019. This event was so huge, it was broadcasted on live TV. Now at the same time, he released his hit song titled Turn Myself In, sharing his thoughts and reactions based on his 2019 case involving King Von. Rappers Lil Durk and King Von were out in Atlanta at a recording studio. After their session was complete, the two rappers headed towards a restaurant located across the street. This restaurant is called The Varsity. While walking up the Varsity parking lot, the two Chicago rappers noticed an op named Alexander Witherspoon standing in the parking lot. Noticing the rival street member just standing there beside his vehicle, King Von and Lil Durk quickly ran to the side of the building. Video surveillance caught the two rappers putting up their hoods and covering up their face before heading over to Alexander. The surveillance shared a small conversation happening before the two rappers started robbing Alexander. Now, Witherspoon in court claims that the two rappers stole $30,000 cash, as well as snatching his diamond chain from around his neck. Now, while in the process of it all going down, Alexander's car keys would eventually fall out of his pockets. King Von proceeded to grab the keys and steal the vehicle, while Lil Durk hopped inside the passenger seat. Now in court, Alexander Witherspoon's lawyers claim that Lil Durk, while driving away, proceeded to roll down the passenger window, sticking a firearm out of it and using it towards Witherspoon while he was on the ground. Video surveillance then shared that King Von then drove the vehicle out of the parking lot before quickly ditching the vehicle on a side street. Now a warrant went out for Lil Durk and King Von's arrest. Before turning himself into jail, Durk would release his hit song, Turn Myself In, claiming that he is innocent in this case and will get through it with no issues. With the two rappers sitting in jail for around a month, the judge finally granted Lil Durk and King Von bond in this case. Durk's bond being $250,000, with King Von's being $300,000. There was conditions made that neither of them are allowed near firearms and can't have any contact with anyone involved in the case. The judge then made a restraining order against Lil Durk and King Von. This is why Durk was not with Von the day that he sadly passed while in Atlanta. The judge in this case has recently found probable cause to charge Lil Durk for the act, alongside 5 other charges involving street activities, holding firearms as a convicted felon, and maybe even self-snitching on himself and his crew in one of his newest songs. With the trial of this case starting soon, Durk knows this already. In the start of all of his new songs, such as Aha, he goes on to say, "Everything said in this video is all props, just in case the police listening," as well as saying the line, "Smirk, you be trippin', you better put your case first," in his latest song featuring Gucci Mane titled Rumors. And the most concerning thing of it all, Lil Durk may have self-snitched on himself in his new song Aha. Now Durk goes on to say, and I quote, "We've been sliding through they blocks and they don't know we have, but he got hit and we can't claim it, but I can show his. Guys acting like they really like that since my Brody passed. I just got out the feds. You bring up my M's with your police. I told Vaughn to leave her alone. She post on the fans." Now these lines are clearly at NBA YoungBoy. Durk has already mentioned in interviews the song Aha is directed towards NBA YoungBoy. Not to mention the line, "Guys acting like they really like that since my Brody passed." This line is clearly a response to NBA YoungBoy, as Durk has previously already wrote to YoungBoy saying, "Don't claim it if you ain't do it. You still a B, hashtag the voice on Instagram." As well as the line, "I told Vaughn to leave her alone, she post on the fans," referring to one of NBA YoungBoy's ex-girlfriends, Janaya, that King Von was talking to behind the scenes. This is when we saw NBA YoungBoy link up with one of King Von's ex-girlfriends as well. This is what started the beef, and this is why King Von wanted to go at Quando Rondo when he sadly passed. Now these lines in these songs are going to be used against Lil Durk and investigated, especially the line, "We've been sliding through they blocks and they don't know we have, but he got hit and we can't claim it, but I can show his." So with law enforcement knowing this is a diss song towards NBA YoungBoy, they will investigate his block. seeing if any foul play has been happening over there with firearms, and try to match these lyrics to an actual event. This is how most rappers self-snitch on themselves, as police use rap lyrics to find a motive and then link it up with an event. Now these lyrics will especially be investigated due to NBA YoungBoy playing a semi-big role in the passing of King Von, who is also involved in this case. It's no secret that Durk and Von are on the same street team, so with the passing of Von, it is Durk's job to get revenge. On October 30th, King Von released his debut studio album titled Welcome to O Block. 1 week later, on November 6th, King Von with a select few friends, family members, and business partners all met at a club in downtown Atlanta to celebrate the release of his newest album. Now Lil Durk, however, was not allowed to be there. This is due to the restraining order that I mentioned earlier in the robbery case. So Atlanta is home of the best recording studios, the best way to link up with other rappers for features, but it does have many negative sides as well, as Atlanta is the highest crime rate involving rappers. Once arriving in Atlanta, King Von's manager secured an Airbnb for the night before heading to the club. King Von was reportedly acting strange the moment he stepped in Atlanta. This was said by people with him on the day it happened. According to Von's manager, King Von was glued to his cell phone the entire night, speaking on it as well as texting on it the entire time, which is very unlike King Von. It just so happens that Von got mid-word during his celebration party that Quando Rondo was at a different club nearby. Now Quando Rondo is signed to NBA YoungBoy's music label, so obviously if Von can get the chance to catch Rondo slipping, he's gonna do it. This is due to King Von having the major beef with NBA YoungBoy at this time, as I mentioned earlier. Now after the celebration party, they were all driving towards the Airbnb. Halfway there, Von tells the driver of his car to turn around and go to a lounge called the Monaco. Mind you, it was only King Von's car that turned around. Inside of his vehicle was his music manager known as 100K Track, as well as just the driver. The security, as well as all of the boys from O Block, continued driving towards the Airbnb. Now at this lounge, Quando Rondo just so happened to be there, parked in his McLaren taking a nap. It's still unconfirmed whether this was just a coincidence, but I don't believe it was. When arriving to the lounge, King Von sat in his SUV for 20 to 30 minutes, not speaking to anyone, just sitting on his phone. This is when his music manager, 100K Track, steps out of the SUV, calls up the boys from O Block saying, "Hey, you need to get over here immediately." Von's acting strange and looking like he's trying to scope someone out. Not much time passes until you see massive SUVs pulling into the parking lot. It almost looked like the president was sitting there. Now with all of the boys from O Block showing up, one of them noticed that Rondo is now standing in the middle of the street. That O Block member runs over to Von saying, "Hey, did you know Quando Rondo was here?" This is where King Von, on surveillance footage, was seen hopping out of his SUV and approaching the middle of this street. Once locating Quando Rondo, King Von and his crew then swarmed him in the middle of the street before a massive brawl then broke out. With King Von and Rondo going at it in the middle of the street, there were no firearms being used or anything. This was until Quando's friend Lil Tim hops out of the white SUV, pulls a firearm out, and uses it towards Von, defending Quando. So with the sound of a firearm being used in the area, undercover cops that were parked down the street start creeping up to the location. Once arriving, they then start lighting up the area from the bottom of the street. It was described as a war zone in the middle of the street. Firearms were being used from all over the place. People are ducking and running behind cars for cover. Yet while this was all going down, Von and Rondo were still in the middle of the street. This was until King Von's best friend Muwop then runs over, knocks Rondo out of the way, and grabs Von, helping him get into the getaway vehicle before quickly making a dash to the nearest hospital. Sadly, in the getaway vehicle, they didn't get to the hospital fast enough and had King Von pass in the process. Now, while driving him to the hospital for medical attention, the same group they just had this altercation with end up going to the same hospital. Members of their crew were also hit by the firearms used by the undercover police from down the street. According to those involved, a second altercation then almost broke out in the hospital parking lot, but law enforcement were already there and waiting their arrival. Now, rapper Lil Tim, who did the act towards King Von, was arrested in the hospital bed while getting medical attention, being handcuffed to his bed and not being able to leave. He was then brought into jail for the passing of King Von before quickly being released on bond, as his lawyers are claiming that Lil Tim was defending Quando Rondo's life. Now, Quando Rondo did an interview online. He stated that in that interview, he was scared for his life and even had an out-of-body experience. He thanks Lil Tim for saving his life, which is now going to help Lil Tim beat the case of Von's passing. Now, this didn't settle well with Lil Durk, as while this all went down, Durk was on Instagram Live. While driving to the recording studio, Durk's entire Instagram Live chat were spamming that Von just sadly passed. Lil Durk was then seen turning off his stream right away and then calling those that were with Von. That's where sadly Lil Durk got the news. Now, the armed robbery case is going to go on with or without King Von. Sadly, now that Von has passed, all of the attention is on Durk. And with Alexander Witherspoon's lawyers claiming that it was Durk who used the firearm, he may now be sentenced to life. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. I'm out. Peace.